I believe that a lot of us are not really stranger to some of the Nordic mythological gods such as Odin, Thor, and Loki, and I believe it's mostly because of Marvel and also video games. But there's a brand that is using those mythological Nordic god for their IM names, and that is Kinera. And today I will review one of their latest product. First of all, thank you for Kinera for sending me their product to be reviewed. So hello and welcome to Aftersound Review, and this is my review for Kinera Idun 2.0, or you could say the Kinera Idun Golden. And they are using one dynamic driver and two balance armature and cost around $169. So that's not a really cheap or expensive price, but I should say that right from the beginning I really like how they look. And by the way, you could also customize your faceplate. You can customize your color. What color do you want when you order them in the website? And just like usual, I will break down this review from the build, fit, frequency response, sound, and comparison. Well, build quality wise, I would say that they're still ordinary. I wouldn't say that there's something special or anything like that. They're using simply ordinary Chi-Fi IMs, all using resin that feels quite light in hands, but I need to say that I really like what they've done with their faceplate. I mean, take a look at the artwork. By the way, as I have said, that you could actually choose the base color. I use a white color for the base for these two IMs, but I choose red color for the right one, and left I use the blue. You could choose a green or maybe purple or many more, and black color for the base. Just take a look at their sides. But the thing I really like is they stay true to their Nordic lore. If you take a look at this artwork, it feels like you can see that there is a tree here. This part is their roots, and this one is like their branches, and it is inspired by Nordic world tree. Maybe you who have played some mythological game like that will know the name Yggdrasil. So yeah, I really like that they stay true to their Nordic lore, to the artwork even. And then the cable itself is actually, you could buy them separately. This is the Kinera Ace cable. It is a braided 8-core cable. It feels really flexible. Take a look at this. It's flexible and feels durable. And also the jack part is actually detachable, so you get 4.4 balance cable and also 3mm single-ended cable. For me, it all feels quite good. And when it comes to the ergonomics, I don't know how they do it, but I really appreciate this kind of it because this is simply perfect for me. The shape, the size, and also even the ear guides all feels proper, and I could wear them for hours without any fatigue. They don't really seal to the vacuum level either. So yeah, for me simply I could say the fit is perfect. I could wear them for a day without any complaint. Frequency response wise, I would say that they are somehow U-shaped neutral, because there's definitely emphasized more in the lower region around this part and also upper region, making them somehow a U-shaped-ish IM in terms of tonal balance. But that being said, the difference between the decibel raise in both of the lower frequency and also upper frequency is not so much. So yeah, I would still somehow say that they are somehow almost U-shaped is neutral. Well, when it comes to the sound, I have tried them using my iBeso DX160 and also my Colix 5K and also my phone and i5 Zen Air Deck. For me, they are relatively easy to drive. And yeah, just using your phone is enough to get a decent volume. And for me, the thing that is really special about this IM, I will say that first time, that the tuning is like they find a really good formula, that finding a really well-balanced IM that is touching like the tip of the neutrality and tip of funness, maybe I should say something like that. They are a little bit fun and a little bit feels kind of neutral. I would say that actually the frequency response itself is a little bit U-shaped, but what I hear is somehow it's like a tip and also the the border between the fun factor and also the neutrality. It's not as boring neutral as some might see in like the idiomatic, or it's not as fun as some basshead IMs, but it's like finding a really good balance and that like the tip of neutrality and fun factor. The bass itself is, when you take a look at the frequency response, it's relatively really flat from sub bass to mid bass. It's that's what I hear. It has good sub bass, it has good mid bass. It could go really deep, but it's also well controlled, and also you don't find any bloated and also any too much rumble. No, the bass is just really great here, and it's also well controlled. I find no mid-range bleed from the bass. And also, I should say, but this is not for basshead. This is kind of bass for me who like that still fun factor, but I still want a really well controlled bass. This is what I find here. The bass is fun enough to hear EDMs for me, and also some Asian music, like for anime soundtracks like that. But it's also neutral enough and fast enough to I find myself to be really hearing every drum details from every bass details from the rock music. It's a really for me, versatile kind of bass. And also the mid-range might be the star for some people, because when I bring them to some audio gathering here in my place, that a lot of people really like the mid-range. But for me, the mid-range is kind of, I wouldn't say that it's really forward or really shine through the whole frequency. But the thing that they get done really right in this IM is about the tonal balance. The balance between female and male vocals, also the balance between upper mid-range and lower mid-range, to make everything sound proper, sweet, but also not really forward. It's just a really proper sounding vocal and really proper sounding instrumental. When you hear piano and you hear guitars from this IM, it's sweet enough, it's really well balanced. I really find no complaints, but it's not really forward to feel like to say that this IM is a really mid-centric IM. I wouldn't say that. It's just the mid-range here is really properly tuned, that I could hear anything, I could hear any music without any complaint in the mid-range. And also, I would say that so here's the thing, I really like the bass, I really like the mid-range, and also they sound really coherent. But there's a little bit but here. The treble of this IM sometimes could feel a little bit more detached from the bass and mid-range, that it's very sublime and sweet and also really well balanced. Sometimes I could hear that the treble can be a little bit forward and a little bit, just a little bit harsh in some recordings. So in a lot of music, I actually do not hear that kind of harshness. But in some music, like I said, in some badly recorded music like Son of Man from Phil Collins, I could definitely hear that the treble is somehow playing out of place. It's almost incoherent. The treble can be a little bit plasticky in timbre and also a little bit harsh. But I say again, this is just me being super nitpicking about things. But in a lot of songs, in a lot of genre, I actually didn't hear that kind of harsh treble. So yeah, I should say that overall, the tonal is just really great. I really like this kind of tonality. For me, it just really suit a lot of genre to say that it's a really all-rounder kind of IM, but it's not a specialized kind of IM. It's not for bass head, it's not for vocal head, and it's not for treble head. But they do everything in a proper, really proper way. And the technical itself is also not bad. It's also good. I would say it's good because, yeah, I will at this price point, this is cost around $169. And at this price point, there are planers IM that definitely has better resolution, better details. But other than that, if we compare them with some of the one Also, one dynamic and two balanced armature IEMs such as the Stage Tone 2 Plus from 4 acoustics, and also the Vanguard 6 and maybe C Audio Yume, I would say that they are quite good. They have good separation and imaging, but maybe the not really good side about this IEM is about the soundstage feels kind of close, but it's not really in a two-dimensional way. So it's kind of, you hear like in a small bowl. It's not really grandiose bowl that you hear a lot of live music that will give you this atmospheric sensation more. It's like a small bowl, but the imaging is quite pinpoint, so you could hear where the instrument is coming from. It's just not really grandiose big soundstage. So it's fairly a good technical IEM for me. But the special thing about the IEMs is, for me, is about the tuning. And also, let's talk about comparison. I would say that, yeah, if you are someone who really like resolution, I would say skip any hybrid IEMs around this price point, because there are a lot of hybrid IEMs at $100 to $200 price point. Just buy this Shure S12 or the Timeless, because they are simply unbeatable in terms of detail, but they have this kind of planar timbre in some songs that would make them somehow sounds more light in note weight. They not as thick, not as natural as some of the IEMs. But if we are talking about resolution, these two are simply unbeatable. And yeah, I have said about some IEMs around that price point that has that needs to be compared, and I have to say that if you want another IEM that has one dynamic driver and two balanced armature but really have better resolution and better extension both in the bass and also the treble, this C Audio Yume Midnight that costs around $200 definitely give you better resolution and better extension on both bass and treble area. But there's a but here. The Kinera Idun Golden for me sounds much more cohesive to the all frequency response, while the Yume Midnight, I find myself hearing that the Yume Midnight is kind of not as cohesive, not as coherent sounding as the Kinera Idun Golden. The bass is somehow really majestic, and while the mid-range and treble is really resolving but thin in notes, so it's, you hear that kind of detachments among the driver that I find the C Audio Yume is a little bit incoherent in some songs. But in here, it's more coherent overall and more cohesive sounding. And you could say that for me, I prefer this Kinera Idun Golden that sounds more organic and natural. So that being said, even though there's planar IEMs that has really good resolution, I'm not gonna lie, for my daily use, I still find myself grabbing this Kinera Idun Gold for my personal enjoyment, because how balanced they are and still have that kind of fun factor to them. So it's just a really great IEM for my perspective, but it's not for everyone. I get that. It doesn't have really wow factor, but it's a really well-tuned IEM that you, to appreciate them, but you might not need to get some times with yourself. It's not an immediately wow IEM, but try them and maybe hear them for around a half an hour or maybe an hour, and you will find maybe other IEMs at this price point is not as addicting as this IEM. So I think that's all I should say about this IEM. In the end, I really love this IEM. Thank you again for Kinera for sending me this IEM. Actually, I don't really like their first Kinera Idun, but this Idun Golden is really nice. That's it. If you have any question, please write in the comments below, and see you next time. Bye bye.